Start with in terms of the quick turnaround of games. Are you expecting to change your team up a bit just to freshen the legs up?
Rob, I'm not going to tell you that, am I? Come on, you'll have to go on to the next question.
Do you think you're going to need to, over the next few weeks, though, use your full squad?
Yeah, well, we do have a lot of games coming up for sure, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So we've got a couple of extra cup games in the FA Cup coming in as well. So I think the squad will have to maximise the squad, which we're quite comfortable with. We've got huge faith in everybody within the group. Once if and when it's needed, the lads are ready, and we will do that as a coaching staff for sure.
And how handy is it now having a number of players available that you can put into the team quite happily without worrying about the numbers or the lack of experience?
Yeah, it's a big plus. There will be the big plus is we've got opportunities to pick different people, bring people in. The negatives are there'll be very good players who won't be on the bench, etc. But that's part of football. That's the nature of the beast. But it's a good problem to have. We've not been in that situation this year.
And with those conversations about players that don't make the squad, do you have the same conversations with players that don't make the starting 11, or are they very different conversations because those players know they won't get any minutes at all on that given day?
Yeah, I'd like to think we're very accessible and approachable. I have constant dialogue with my players and a lot of informal conversations, which I think enable you to connect more with the players. So rather than calling people into the office constantly, we've a lot of conversations walking out to the training ground, walking in, and I don't mean as in telling players they're not playing. There's a time and a place for that, but there's a constant interaction between the staff and the players, which I think has massively helped build relationships, which you may not get as a manager and a player. So, but yeah, we absolutely. I think it's important to let players know if you are making changes why they're not on the team or why they're coming into the team, and that's a constant. What I've said to the players is this year, there's not enough minutes in the day for me to be constantly going around speaking to players all the time. My door's always open, and I mean, it is literally open. We don't, as far as that, I purposely don't close the door so they know it's open. And they come in and see me. They're good lads, they're great lads, they're respectful. I've had plenty of players come and see me this year, and we always have good conversations, and I welcome that.
There's such a tight, congested middle pack in the table at the moment. I think 9 points from 4th to 18th, I think it is. Is that showing that there's not much in it in terms of League One this year, that there are just little moments of quality that are helping teams out this year?
I think everybody's capable of beating everybody on any given day. I think top can lose to bottom, vice versa. So I don't think I think in that regard, I'm never shocked if there's a surprise, what we'd call a surprise from. I'm never shocked at that. But the way I look at the league, I think there's like a top 10 and a top 12 of really, really big hitters. And then there's not a bottom 12, but I think there's like 2 leagues within the league, personally speaking. When you look at your Ipswiches, your Sheffield Wednesdays, your Derbies, Peterborough, clubs like that have come down as well. I don't know. It's as competitive a league as I've seen for a long, long time. So I think there's almost 2 leagues in one in league.
And do you think Barnsley are in that top 12?
Yes. In a nutshell, yes. Michael may not appreciate me telling him that about his team. I'm not telling him, but yes, that's how I see them. And I think a team that comes down. It's funny. I was watching some games back yesterday and thinking about when we played them last year and stuff like that. So I've got familiarity with them, and also they've got an outstanding manager there as well. So I would very much expect them to be up there this year, and I'm sure Michael will as well.
I was looking at the stats, and of course you can change stats however you want to make them, but your team seemed to perform better in the first half away from home, better in the second half at home. Is there anything in that, do you think? Is there anything about the approach, or is it just one of those kind of anomalies that comes up during a season early on?
Sorry, Rob, do you mean our team performs better in the second half of an away game?
Second half of a home game and the first half of an away game, on terms of goals scored?
I have an opinion on the home games, which I'm very strong on, which I'm not going to give you. On the away games, no, I've not noticed. I mean, it was funny. My 7-year-old son told me yesterday we're 8th in the league on away form, but further down the league on home form, and yet we're unbeaten at home. So I think there's a lot of positives to take. My opinion on the home games, I do have a very strong opinion of it, which I've shared with our staff and Clive, and all will be revealed one day.
And I suppose the good thing is when you come into the away form, if you see your away form's good, it's quite easy to go into those games and approach them in a positive manner, isn't it? Rather than going on a run like some clubs do, where they really do struggle away from home and tend to pick up their points at home.
Yeah, look, the hardest thing to do in football is one of the hardest things to do in football is to win. And I would have thought an even harder thing to do in football is to win away from home. It's so difficult. We've seemed to have excelled on the road this year, which I'm pleased, because it says a lot about the character of the group, and the fearlessness of going away from home and embracing that. I think at home it's been like fine margins. We look like a really tough team to beat at home, but if you look at the goals for and against, they're lower than away. I do think away from home we've massively tightened up. If we can just add those goals to the home form, it will make a big difference. I do think when I looked at the games earlier on in the season, I do think the games we should have won. Charlton I thought was a fair result. Sheffield Wednesday I thought was a fair result. But when I looked at Fleetwood in particular, Forest Green, I do think the points that where we should have picked up 3 points at home. And I hope that's just down to that early part of the season where we're getting to know each other, getting to recognise our strengths and weakness. And actually, I keep saying this, finding out what type of a team we are.
And I know you've not seen the players yet in terms of the injuries from the weekend, but is there anybody who wasn't involved at the weekend going to be available tomorrow, or is it the same players to choose from?
No, Joe Walsh is available. Joe's been fit for a couple of weeks now, but we have to be very mindful, respectful of his injuries, and even though he's fit and he's fully available, he has got a different training program or games program to everybody else. So I'm just looking at my board here. He's available for tomorrow, and Tashan's available for tomorrow as well.